What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. This week, we're going to change it up a little bit. We've got some breaking news. We've actually got sports to talk about. I'm really excited. We're going to jump right in. The first thing we have is Major League Baseball proposing that we're going to start playing baseball again. I mean, if you're not excited for that, you know. But in all seriousness, the MLB Players Association has proposed a 114 game schedule. The MLB owners have also said that they intend to propose a shorter season that would allow players to get paid their full salaries, prorated share of their salaries. Um, we're gonna just jump right in. Nick, what do you think about this breaking news?
I mean, I think this is something. I know that they've talked about different scenarios, doing a half season, doing a partial season, and I think this is, I think this is something we can get behind because, we've been without baseball for a while now, and I think people are getting really agitated and just want something. So, this is the first thing that is being voted on, and I think it's just gonna pass. I think that everybody is on board with this. They're gonna um, move on with this 114 game schedule. I don't know exactly where that'll leave us in the at the end of the season, but if that means we're only going to have a few months off for in between seasons, then so be it. That's one off season that people that the players are going to have to go through. So it's finally nice to see some movement with the MLB. It's been lately. It's been a lot of the NHL and NBA that have been talking, a lot of rumors there, but the MLB has been pretty quiet. Although they've had some speculation in the last month. This is the first thing that's coming about, and it's really nice to see. So I'm excited for it. I think that this is going to pass. I don't think there should be anybody will have any issues with this. This helps the players. This helps the team, the owners, the teams. I'm not exactly sure how how they're going to go about hosting these team, whether they're going to do different cities or if they're going to be played at each stadium. It'll be interesting to see the full details of this plan that comes out. But nonetheless, I think this is what we needed to for something that can be voted on, will be approved, and I think we're going to be you know back in sports very soon.
Yeah, I mean this is exactly what we've been waiting for, right? Some positive movement from the sporting leagues to start saying like, "Hey, we're trying to work our way back at this point." And it's almost a thought that obviously they were trying to in the background, but at the same time, it's good to hear it from the owners themselves or from the from people that actually matter that are part of the sport. So 114 games, I mean, when you're talking about 162 game schedule, which is what they normally play, 114 should still provide you plenty of opportunity to really weed out the good and the bad teams. I mean, if you can't figure it out in 114, I really don't know what else you're going to come up with. So I think that would just allow for a shortened season to really just be played. Essentially they're going to start like nothing else has happened, like nothing. There's been no issues, and I think that'd be great. I guess the only question, and you brought this up, is where are they going to play, right? We'll get into the NBA later on, but there's some places that are opening up specifically for these types of events. Maybe you have what the National League, in one side, or the West in one side, the Central in the other, the East in the other. There's so many different avenues that they're going to have to get through, but I think now, especially in today, everything that's happening in today's world, we need sports. Like, not having sports is not like there's nothing else to focus on except for what's being portrayed on social media, what's on the news. People need an escape, and this is like the first positive light that we've seen from any real you know owner or anything from Major League Baseball to say, hey, we're on our way back. So overall, I think this is a positive change. I'm I'm thankful that the owners are willing to off the bat agree to um, paying the prorated salaries. I think that helps lighten the load for players like Nolan Arenado, like Bryce Harper, who have already come out and said if they're not getting their full salaries, they don't want to play. Part of the MLBPA proposal was an opt out for players. So, Nick, what do you think players should be able to opt out of playing the shortened season if they don't want to?
I mean, I think you should. It's a tough situation. Actually, no. I really don't think you should be able because you are in a contract. You signed that you will play for this team when the team is playing. Like that's what you signed up for, and so you shouldn't be given the opportunity. If you feel like it, you can sit this one out. I think you signed a contract, and you have to live up to that contract. I don't think you should be able to do whatever you want. Take the uh, you know the lesser road. Just take the easy way out.
Right.
Just because you're not, it's a full prorated uh, uh, salary, so you're still getting what you would get in 114 games anyway. And 114 games pretty much puts us right back on track where the season would be right now. Remove 50 games, it's roughly what would have been played in the last 2 months. So I think that it makes a lot of sense, and a lot of the bigger name players shouldn't have an issue with it because they're going to get the majority of their salary. They shouldn't have an issue. They should be doing this for the love of the sport anyway, and so the
Right.
money really shouldn't matter.
No, I agree. I don't think. I mean, if a player doesn't want to play, it should be treated like they're holding out. Essentially,
Yeah.
I don't think there should be an opt-out clause. I don't think. I mean, because essentially what you're doing is these players. If you bring up the security concerns or concerns about, health and things like that, I understand, but I would assume that a lot of this is going to be played without fans anyway. So when you have players who are going to be spread out on the bench and in the bullpen, spread. I mean, what other sport do players spend as far apart as they do in baseball? The especially outfielders. You got the left field, center field, and right field. That's a massive amount of space for only three people to be patrolling. Um, I don't think they have to worry, and as long as the MLB is on with testing, I think they're in a good spot and they're in a good situation to move forward.
Absolutely.
Um, I want to move on from Major League Baseball. I do hope that it comes back. And
Yeah,
I
I don't think that we're gonna have too many qualms, figuring this thing out. It seems like a pretty straightforward schedule. Just resume where we would be right now,
for sure.
and I think everybody's gonna get on board with that. But
Yeah, I can't wait to see the Red Sox win again. With
not
that
gonna
being said,
happen. Not gonna happen.
with that being said, um, there was some other news that came out this weekend, and it was more of a proposal. And it's weird because this is from somebody I'd never expected. Deshaun Jackson, who is part of the Philadelphia Eagles, um, said if the NFL has to play with no fans, that all players on the field should be mic'd up throughout each game. That way, the fans at home can really hear and understand what's exactly happening, both on the field, in the huddle. You can hear exactly what's going on. I think that's an incredible idea. I'd love for I even if there are fans in the stands, I still think that would be something that they should absolutely do because I know we talked about this. We probably talked about it last week, but there, on NFL Network, they have a segment each week for specific players that the NFL Films has mic'd up for that week, and they play a mic'd up segment and shows you all the highlights of those players from that week. Well, at this point, this would be all the players, and I think it would give us a better understanding of who these people are, how they perceive themselves, because everybody thinks of somebody like Tom Brady as this OG golly shucks guy. And I mean, if you heard him in the huddle, I guarantee that whole mentality and your perception of him would completely change, and you would start thinking about him more as like an aggressive type of leader,
Like you
which is
think of
what
Michael Jordan right now.
Exactly, exactly. I think if we were to see that from teams and players and everybody that's on the field, I think everybody would have their eyes open to exactly what's happening, and I think that'd be honestly like a whole new added element that no other sport is doing right now.
Yeah, and that's great too because you're going to show the younger generation what a real champion is like in the moment. What
Right.
they how they're processing everything, how their what their mentality is like, and I think that that'd be great to really teach the young up and comers, what to strive to be, how they should act in the situation, and what they should be focused on. I think that'd be great. Um, but I think that with the way they already schedule games or how they cast them, they have the people on the sidelines holding those like semicircular domes that have the mics inside that pick up sound anyway. So you're gonna have those people there anyway. You don't need to per se mic them up, but it's gonna capture everything. That microphone is able to grab what they're saying, even with when there's 80,000 people in the stands. So without anybody there, all you need is somebody there holding a microphone that's going to pretty much pick up everything. There's still going to be yelling calls. There's still going to be jawing at each other. The mic'd ups, where you get those videos of players on both sides of the ball being mic'd up. Um, I you could do that for every player, and I think that would be cool. It kind of would bring in the XFL aspect of it because that's something they did where you could hear the play calls, you could hear the head coach, you could hear everything that's going on in the huddle and right up to the snap. So you're kind of incorporating an XFL idea um, without really saying you are, um, because who wants to admit that the XFL did something good. But I think that no matter how they do it, I think that if we can get more interaction, um, and this would bring us closer to the players themselves. I think that's a great uh, new aspect to sports, like you said.
One of the things that I love about those mic'd up segments, and if you have seen them, you probably are with me, but the way the sound is created when pads hit each other when you're getting tackled, it's just such a crisp sound. Like yeah, I'm sure you've heard it before, but I love the sound of like just massive hit. I specifically remember one of my favorite players of all time being mic'd up, Ray Lewis, and I heard him hit somebody in a Steelers game, and you could literally hear the air come out of the cushions inside the pads. And it was just like a deflating sound. You're like, holy hell, that guy just popped him with some power. And that's what got me, very interested in wanting to do that more. And I think if the NFL is willing to, and the players are willing to, I would love to have that again across all players, across all teams. I'd love to hear what happens in huddles on the sidelines. Um, you're gonna get some moments that you probably don't want to see, like what we saw with Sam Darnold last year on the Monday Night Football game. ESPN should have never showed him saying that he was seeing ghosts, but at the same time, like that's their job. They're there to provide content, and if everybody is doing that, how many other quarterbacks have said that? How many other quarterbacks or other players or teams have tried to talk to themselves on the sidelines? Wouldn't it have been great to have heard what's going on with Odell Beckham Jr. when he's trying to propose to the damn kicking net? Like, I think those are the things that we would think about and want to hear more about in the moment. Um,
Yeah, and you're cutting out the 12th man, if you will. And it's just a straight up football game. It's to you really get to see who's better than the other team. You're not gonna be in that Seattle arena stadium with the 12th man. You can't hear the play calls. You can't hear any of that. Or if you're in Kansas City, where they're just so loud and it's kind of it takes an impact, takes a toll on the opposing team because you have to fight off this crowd while taking on a strong team. It's just it'll create for better gameplay, and I think that it'll allow the players to really shine through without any distractions. And the mics up, that doesn't add anything to them, any pressure or anything. They're gonna talk the same. They're not gonna act any different. You might be surprised at some things that a favorite player of yours says, because no matter who you are, if you're Tom Brady or Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, you're gonna say something that a fan of yours isn't gonna like, and that's just the reality of sports. You say a lot of things that in the heat of the moment you say, but you wouldn't say normally, and that's just what it is. But that's what creates for great sports, and I guess great drama too. That would give us a lot to talk about, to get into the psyche of a lot of these players, see what they really like, and that would help a lot of players when they're looking. If you're looking at a cornerback and you hear them say a few things, if they get annoyed at a certain route or something, that'll definitely help when you're studying film, to understand, well, maybe we should run more of these types of plays. I should run this type of route. That'll get him off his game. That's where he has weaknesses. And it's more to it than just seeing the movements on the field, but actually hearing it from the player themselves. That'll really be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and I know we're talking about it as if for the football players, but I'd love to see this implemented across all sports. I mean, I go back to the 2016 NBA Finals, right? When or was it 2016? The J.R. Smith, when he grabbed the rebound and then ran across the court instead of not shooting as time expired, and they went into overtime in the finals against the Warriors. I would have loved to have heard exactly what LeBron was saying on the court at that point in time, because you can see what he's doing, how he's pointing, and like he's like, yeah, you got to go to the basket. We got no time. Um, but I would have loved to have heard something like that in such a strenuous moment. I want to hear what's coming out of the leader's mouth. I want to hear what's being said. I remember back in '08 when the Celtics were on their title run, Kevin Garnett brought Rajon Rondo to the side after he got into a small scuffle, and he talked to him one v one. I would love to hear what that was about. You can kind of figure it out based on how things are said and who the people are, but at the same time, like, you would love to just kind of get in there and hear exactly the message that's being said, because I think that's such a tool that we can use not only for the sport itself, but as a society, we can use that to teach the younger generations, like, listen, look at this player who is starting for a championship caliber team, is taking criticism from somebody who's much older veteran than they are, because they know, they're wiser, they've been there, they've done it, they can help you in that moment. I think this is something that if we were to mic up players in the NFL, they would kind of be like the first, if you will. I'd love to see it in basketball, in baseball, in hockey, so on and so forth, because I think you could really take this and run with it for sure.
And I think they should really take this one step further and mic up the referees, mic up the umpires in baseball. Let's hear from everybody, because if one person makes a bad call, let's know exactly who it is, so we can actually get to the bottom of all these bad officiating calls. You can really weed out the bad refs and umpires if you get to hear in on what they're calling and who's missing something. What if you hear a referee say, "Oh, I missed that," and make it up. You never know, because you don't hear from them.
Right.
So I think that would add a level of accountability to referees and all officials.
I think it would humanize them too. I mean, coming from someone who screams at officials 98% of my sports viewing time, I would like to hear that and see that, and kind of say, like, all right, like, if they said to themselves, like, and they're mic'd up and be like, damn, I missed that, or I made a mistake, like, okay, I can get on board with that. If you made a mistake and you know it, that's fine. But most of the time, I know you made the mistake. I don't know if you know that. And
Mhm.
like, that's the tough part for me as a fan when I'm watching. I'd love to be able to get down into that area and really try to focus on that. So I think
Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool.
absolutely.
Um, you know, we're talking about sports coming back and things that they should do. Well, I think one sport that we can count on and that we're kind of excited for is the NBA. The owners are set to vote on Thursday
Hmm.
on resuming the season, and that would take place at Disney World in Orlando. Um, ESPN is owned by Disney. They would have the viewing rights. Fox Sports also owned by Disney. They would have viewing rights as well. So a lot of it works out to have it at Disney. The recommendation was put forth by Commissioner Adam Silver, and then obviously the man, the myth, the Woj decided that he was kind enough to say that this is most likely going to pass. So it looks like we're going to be having sports sometime soon. And it is looking like I just got a notification that Adam Silver and Chris Paul are working together. Chris Paul is the head of the Players Association. He's the president on the player side. Um, they're working together to get this done as rapidly as possible and to make sure that teams are ready to go like if they vote on it like maybe Friday they start they get into like practicing or something like that, testing, and just making sure that everybody is at the point where they are ready to just start the season over, not start it over but to resume. um what are your thoughts on that?
No, I'm very excited, and I know Adam Silver. He is one of the best, if not the best, commissioner in the four major sports.
He's the
And
best.
yeah, and this is exactly what I would expect from him. He's being very proactive and in making sure that everything is in place so that the season can resume where it left off. He doesn't, he's not leaving anything up for, to guessing. He wants to make sure it's all done the right way, and getting the Chris Paul involved and making sure all the players, especially now, making sure all the players are in, ready to go, and are, especially with all, just about all facilities opening up or opened up. It'll allow everybody to just go back to normal as quickly as possible. And so once
Right.
this is approved, if we're looking at a mid, early July or mid July, resume date, then people can start getting back into the practice facilities within the next couple weeks, which
Yeah.
is as smooth as you can get, and that's it's what it's looking like. So I'm really on board with this. I really like it. I think that uh, the we've seen this with the NHL, and we're not sure if that's exactly coming back yet, but that to see a commissioner like Adam Silver continuously being proactive instead of just waiting until that Thursday vote. Um, just acting as if this is already a done deal and making sure it's all done. You're proving to the owners that this is a viable option. It's able to come back right now, and everybody's on board with it. So I'm excited, and I really have high hopes for the NBA, more so than I do for the NHL at this point.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretty much leave it at that. But um, I hope that by the end of the week we have a better understanding and a better overview of exactly what we are looking at as far as a timeline to resume these major sports leagues. And I do want to say, if you listen to last week's podcast, I did make a mistake when it came to the NHL playoffs. The NHL said they were coming back and they were going to resume with a playoff format. And I mentioned that it wasn't for the Stanley Cup. I was wrong. I didn't know that at the time. I thought it was for a consolation prize, but they will be playing for the Stanley Cup. The Boston Bruins have been awarded the President's Trophy as they were the best team in the NHL at the end of the regular season. Although cut short, they were the best team, so they will receive the President's Trophy. But the Stanley Cup will be the prized possession at the end of this playoff run, no matter how they decide to move forward with it. With that being said, I just have one more thing for the agenda. It's going to be very short. Um, Obviously, everybody, unless you live under a damn rock, knows exactly what happened last week. Uh, our hearts go out with the family of George Floyd. Uh, we wish them nothing but the best. And We stand with George Floyd and the black community. We stand with police officers who are doing the right thing. We stand with everybody who is trying to make a positive change in this world. And we are here. We talk sports, and this is a platform for people to escape. So I don't really like to talk about political stuff, but it's not political to say that you stand with someone who was, uh, you know, whose life ended way too short at a time, that it didn't have to. So I just want everybody out there to know and understand that we're going to continue to talk about sports, because we know and understand that not everything has to be about one specific topic. Not everything, people need escapes. People need to alleviate pressures from their minds. And I hope that anybody listening to this and watching this on YouTube can understand that we are going to be here to be an escape for you, and to overall just be somebody that you can say that my hat looks stupid or something like that. And just like all we want is to provide that opportunity for you guys. And we do hope that you understand that.
Absolutely.
Nick, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you said it all and said it great. But I think that's how we should leave it. And let's continue on with sports. It seems like they're right around the corner, so I'm really excited for that. I know you are too.
Yeah, I can't
Let,
wait to yell at the Lakers.
let's keep our fingers crossed that this gets approved on Thursday. It looks like it's going to. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we're gonna have basketball back and possibly baseball. Can you imagine we're getting all these sports at the same time? I'm excited. It'll give me something to do. As you can see, I'm stuck in a hotel room right now. It's going to be like this for a while. So hopefully I get something else to do than stare at the wall and watch the paint dry. But with that said, I think we're going to conclude the podcast here. But talk to us on Twitter. Let us know your thoughts on everything that's going on in sports. And give us, ask us any questions if you have a question on a player, a team, an organization. Yes, we still hate the Astros. We hope that they get pelted every single time they're at bat. Never forget what the Astros did. But talk to us on Twitter, like and comment on YouTube. Give us 5 stars or whatever you feel on the wherever you're listening to this podcast. But we're glad you're listening, and we love when you reach out. So continue to do that, and we'll talk to you next week, guys.
All right, have a great day.